Mexicaras, oh, you were going to Ghana. Do you know any famous people there?
I know quite a few Wode Maya Kwadwo Sheldon Kwame Despite and others.
My name is Cliche, morning sun through my window light. Coffee's warm and the world feels right. Text my girls, we're laughing already. Plans for the day, our hearts are steady. Take the walk down the main street slow. Talking about dreams only we would know. Sneakers tapping on the pavement beat. Life feels like music under my feet. Every little moment, every little smile feels like a melody that stays for a while. Got my people, got my dreams in view.
I'm 23 years old, and if you asked most people, they'd probably say I've had a dream life. I grew up in Salvador, Brazil, in a sprawling white villa with terracotta roofs, a private beach, and more rooms than I could count. My father owns one of South America's largest shipping companies, and my mother's fashion label sells in Paris, Milan, and New York. I had everything: the latest designer clothes, music tutors who had trained Grammy winners, and my own recording studio in the house. But here's the truth no one tells you: wealth can feel like a golden cage. You can have the most beautiful view in the world and still feel trapped inside it. Music was my escape. I started singing in school concerts, then in theaters, then on television. By 21, I had released 2 albums. People called me the voice of Bahia, but I still felt alone. That I dated.
My name is Cliche, morning sun through my window light.
Of course.
Plans for the day, our hearts are steady. We take that walk down the main street slow. Talking about dreams only we would know.
But love was elusive, like trying to hold sunlight in your hands. I remember my date with Daniel. His family owned a chain of luxury hotels across Brazil. He invited me for dinner aboard his father's yacht. The evening was picture perfect: silver cutlery, soft jazz playing in the background, the city lights reflecting off the water. He smiled politely, complimented my dress, and asked about my latest album. But every time I answered, his eyes drifted to his phone. We docked, and I went home knowing he wasn't really interested in me, just the idea of me. Then there was Lucas, an art dealer in Sao Paulo. He was handsome in that effortless, slightly messy way, and he had a passion for art that was almost intoxicating. We spent the evening walking through a private gallery after hours, the lights dimmed, the paintings seeming to glow in the quiet. He spoke of brushstrokes like they were poetry, but when he looked at me, it was the same gaze he gave the paintings, admiration without connection. I started to realize that my world in Brazil was full of beauty, but not depth. One morning, my manager handed me an email from the organizers of a cultural festival in Accra, Ghana. They wanted me to perform as part of an international showcase celebrating African music and its global influence. I didn't hesitate. I said yes before I even checked my schedule. In the weeks leading up to the trip, I researched Ghana obsessively. I learned about the country's history, the symbolism of the Black Star, the vibrance of its markets, and the music that had influenced so much of the world. But nothing I read could prepare me for how it would feel to actually be there. The plane landed in the late afternoon. Warm air rushed into the cabin the moment the doors opened. As I stepped out, the scent hit me: sea breeze, roasted corn, spices, and something sweet I couldn't name. The next morning, I visited Black Star Square.
Morning sun through my window light. Coffee's warm and the world feels right. Text my girls, we're laughing already. Plans for the day, take a walk down the main street slow. Talking about dreams only we would know. Sneakers tapping on the pavement beat.
The monument stood proudly under a clear blue sky, the giant star crowning its top. I stood there, quietly taking it in. This wasn't just stone and concrete, it was a symbol of independence, of pride, of hope. That's when I noticed a man sketching the monument in a worn leather notebook. He looked up, caught my gaze, and smiled. "You look like you belong here," he said. His name was Kojo, a Ghanaian artist. He told me he often came to Black Star Square for inspiration. He had dreams of opening a community art center where children could learn painting, sculpture, and music. That evening, Kojo offered to show me around Accra. We started at Makola Market. The air was alive with shouts, music, and the clatter of goods being unpacked. Stalls overflowed with colorful Kent cloth, carved wooden masks, fresh produce, and baskets of dried fish. The smell of grilled tilapia mingled with the sweetness of fresh mango. Kojo bought me a roasted plantain with ground nuts. I took one bite and closed my eyes in delight. "Sweet, right?" he said, laughing. From the market, we went to Labadi Beach. The sunset painted the water gold, and the waves whispered against the sand. Children played football nearby, their laughter carried by the wind. I kicked off my sandals and stepped into the water. Kojo stood beside me, watching me with a quiet smile. Over the next few days, we explored more of Accra. He took me to the fishing harbor in Jamestown, where boats painted in bright blues and reds rocked gently in the tide. We wandered through narrow streets where murals told stories of history and struggle. In the evenings, we sat in small cafes, sipping Sabalo tea and talking about everything: my music, his art, our dreams. The night of my performance, the festival grounds were electric. Drums pounded in the distance, and the crowd buzzed with anticipation. I stepped onto the stage wearing a gown inspired by Ghanaian prints, the colors bold and vibrant. As I began to sing, I spotted Kojo in the crowd. He was near the front, his eyes fixed on me, smiling. My voice carried over the sea of people, blending with the beat of traditional drums and the hum of the city beyond. When the final note faded, the applause was thunderous. But the moment that stayed with me was later, under the same Black Star monument where we first met. Kojo took my hand and said, "You came here to sing, but I think you also came here to stay." And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I felt like I had found where I was meant to be.